Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, there is only one disgraceful person in this House tonight, and that is David Bennett. Mr. Bennett, that was an appalling contribution. There was nothing in that speech about an incredibly important topic to the future of New Zealand. In this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, in the Labour Party, we might not support every bit of this piece of legislation, but at least Dennis O'Rourke has come to this House to address the issue of how we make superannuation sustainable in this country. And all you've got to offer is insults and nonsense, Mr. Bennett. You are a disgrace.
Point of order. David Seymour.
I'm sure you saw it, the member just brought the Speaker into the debate.
Order. I just want to make a couple of points here. I realise that it's a robust debate, but I make the same point as I made to New Zealand First earlier on. Relevancy and whether or not someone brings the Speaker into the debate is a matter for the Speaker. You may note within the various presiding officers that there are various amounts of latitude, but they are only very narrow, and I don't need to be reminded if a Speaker happens to bring me into debate. I've been around long enough to be able to handle that all by myself. Thank you very much. Grant Robertson.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, the National Party do not want to have a conversation with New Zealanders about one of the most important parts of our social welfare system. That is, whether or not there is universal superannuation. Can we make superannuation sustainable for the future? Because John Key and Bill English have built their government around putting their heads in the sand on this issue. Bill English said that this was a conversation for another government to have. That is recklessly irresponsible. If we want to make sure that there is superannuation available for generations of New Zealanders to come, then as a country we've got to have a conversation. And Dennis O'Rourke has brought a bill to this House that we can send to the Select Committee to see what we can do, because there's been no leadership from the National Party on this issue, and Mr. Speaker, that is a disgrace. This government is so out of touch and arrogant that it is refusing to listen to New Zealanders who want dignity in retirement, who want to make sure that superannuation is there for future generations, and this government won't talk about it, Mr. Speaker, and they are completely irresponsible. What this legislation does, Mr. Speaker, is raise up the question of Section 70 of the Social Security Act. There is not a member of Parliament in this House who does their job properly in their electorate or representing an area as a list member who has not had someone come to them about Section 70 of the Social Security Act. And that is because it does create inequities, Mr. Speaker. It does create situations, as Dennis O'Rourke said in his opening speech, where the spouse of somebody who's earned superannuation overseas suddenly ends up with their entitlement as a New Zealander being taken off them. I had a constituency case of a woman who was a teacher who had taught in New Zealand for 30 or 40 years. She was married to someone from overseas, and somehow or other she lost her entitlement that she had paid taxes for her whole life because of Section 70 of this Act. The solution being proposed in here by Dennis O'Rourke may not be perfect, Mr. Speaker, and we do have some concerns that we want to air at Select Committee about whether or not we have got the definition right. We do have concerns, Mr. Speaker, that the concept of universality for the first time is being brought into question by this bill through the pro rata system. That is a very serious step to take, and one that the New Zealand Labour Party is not confident that this bill will achieve in a way that we would want to vote for at the end of the road. But we want to see the issue debated. There are serious issues about the sustainability of superannuation. The New Zealand National Party might have its head in the sand, but we will vote for this bill to go to Select Committee, imperfect as it is, because we believe New Zealanders deserve the right to have a discussion about this important topic.
Good speech.